I'd like to thank everybody coming to today's Friday's Heroes and Employee of the Week ceremony. I'm Rob Perry. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer. I'm filling in for Mayor Barry, who extends his appreciation and recognition of some excellent work by some city employees that are nominated this week for Friday's Heroes and Employees of the Week. You know, in government, a lot of times we go about our business and it's mundane, and particularly when you're in a first responder, public safety type position, because it's kind of hurry up and wait, and you never know when you're going to be called on to probably be, one of the most important people in government that particular day and that particular moment. And in policing and fire, I think you have a lot of opportunity to do that. Today we're going to recognize several members of the Albuquerque Police Department and the Albuquerque Fire Department, and appreciate their supervisors coming in, their family as well as coming in and supporting them as well. We have Acting Lieutenant Thomas Rotzen, Lieutenant Dominic Velasquez, Driver Joseph Solis, Lieutenant Driver Albert V. Hill, Firefighter William Jarvis, and Firefighter Elliot Knightington. On the APD side, we have Sergeant David Baca, we have Detective Jody Gunterman, Detective Glenn St. Onge, Officer Benito Aragon, and Officer Richard Witten. And today's Friday's Heroes is a very unique Friday's Heroes. I've had the privilege and honor of doing these events many times, and in most cases there's always a happy ending to these situations. And today's story unfortunately doesn't include that, but what it does include is a heartfelt effort of coordination between the Albuquerque Fire Department, the Albuquerque Police Department, multiple folks within those agencies to try to provide the opportunity and the structure and the response for a positive outcome. I just recently finished a book called No Easy Day. It's written by a Navy SEAL, and their motto is no easy day. The only easy day you had was yesterday. And I think a lot of times in public safety, whether you're in the fire department or police department, your easiest day may have been yesterday because you don't know what you're going to face on that particular day. And what happened in this particular situation was earlier this month, there was a 911 call regarding a residence out in the Southeast Heights. And there was a frantic call stating that a 17-month-old child was unconscious and not breathing. When APD responded from their field services unit and patrol units arrived on scene, what they found, Officer Aragon, Officer Witten, and Sergeant Baca, was this 17-year-old child. And mom was just completely upset in the middle of the road when they came on scene, screaming about the child being down inside the house and not breathing. And what the responding units did was to begin a CPR. Apparently, I think there was a father or a boyfriend that was doing it, but was untrained. And the police officers were able to establish a CPR to try to bring back some respiration to the child. It provided the best opportunity for positive outcome. Everybody in this situation worked their tails off, and basically what happened was AFD engine and Rescue 12 came upon scene and took over for the police officers, and they immediately started giving CPR and other life support systems and a respiration, return of respiration, and heartbeat situation. At that point, they took over. I think the lieutenant told me it was one of the fastest scoop and runs that they had done, because when somebody's down, hasn't been breathing, it's important to get them to the hospital where they can address those issues medically as quick as possible. AFD took the child, made the quick transport to the hospital. Detectives from APD were at the hospital to determine whether this was a situation of abuse or other criminal actions involved, which it wasn't ultimately. And unfortunately, despite the best efforts of everyone to revive the child, the young child didn't survive. But it's important to know that these officers and firefighters, that they performed heroically. And I know that every time you guys go out, you guys get on it right away, you give 110%, and you expect a good outcome. And usually on Friday afternoon, we're here to talk about those good outcomes. But it doesn't always end that way. And there is no easy day. And it's important that we recognize that, and we kind of support you folks for being ready, being at the call, making the plays that could have got the good outcome that day. And you certainly did that. I pulled up a couple articles. Usually when I do these, I do my own little independent research. And here from EMS Today, you know, talks some articles about first responders deal with the emotions after their work is done. And I'm sure when you see a 17-year-old child on the floor and you've done everything you can, and you hear later on that you were unsuccessful and that the medical emergency overtook the survivability of that child, that's probably a difficult thing. I know that in this case, Sergeant Baca had talked to his folks, and they had talked a little bit about whether they were going to need some crisis intervention and the like. Don't know what AFD did, but I want, on behalf of the mayor's office, to recognize you guys for just doing a great job and putting ourselves in a situation to get a positive outcome, and recognize that when you do that, you know, the majority of times we get that result, and when you don't, we still appreciate that, the great effort and energy and commitment you put in every day. So Chief, let me give it to the Chiefs if you guys want to add anything more. Chief Breen, Chief Schultz.
Thank you. And what's significant about this event is that children, 17-month-old child that goes into cardiac arrest, it's very difficult to get them, their heart beating again and get them breathing on their own again. And this is only accomplished when certain things come together. 911 was called immediately. The police department, in this case, arrived first, began doing CPR, which perfused those vital organs and kept them alive. And when the fire department arrived, they administered emergency medical treatment in a precise manner that resulted in the child having the pulse return and having the child breathe again on their own. And so it was just really an outstanding team effort. This is how it's supposed to work, and it's my honor to be here in their presence today. Chief?
And I don't have too much more to add other than the fact that this was a great example of a coordinated effort. Just as Chief Breen said, it all started with that 911 call, and it's those operators that take the call, share the information with AFD, and immediately getting those first responding resources en route to the scene and to the location. In this particular case, it was Albuquerque police officers that responded first, and we never know, just like fire department, what we're walking into. This particular call was probably one of the most emotional calls that we have to deal with, and that's a child that's in distress. I want to thank the officers for stepping up right away, rendering emergency first aid, and then of course AFD. We have two great organizations. We like to rib each other a lot and kid a little bit. They beat us in every sporting event there is out there. But when it comes down to getting the job done, the men and women of both the fire department and police department can always make sure that they put their best efforts forward. And that's what makes me so proud to have the job that I have. And I want to thank everybody on both teams for doing a great job. Thank you.
Give them all a big hand. We have some special Friday's Heroes Public Safety Award coins that we'd like to hand out. And Chief, if I could give you some, and give Chief Breen some. I think
I'll give these guys the police coins, and they can have the fire coins.
there you go. We'll do a trade, right? Thanks, man. It's a great story. Yeah, good work. Thanks. Thanks, man. Yep. Do that for things. You bet. Thank you guys. Good work. Thanks, Sarge. Yep. And that's going to do it for Friday's Heroes. What we're going to do next is Employee of the Week. So if we could kind of change positions here, and Jarvis, you and Georgia want to come up? This week's Employee of the Week is Jarvis Sanchez, and Jarvis has an excellent story with his work for the Department of Senior Affairs. Mr. Sanchez is credited for going above and beyond what his usual day-to-day business at the Senior Citizen and Senior Affairs Department of the City of Albuquerque involves. We all know that the process of moving is pretty tough, and it's stressful with anyone that's ever had to do a move. I think when you're a senior citizen and you have limited abilities, limited independence, it's probably even that much more difficult. The older we get, the more it becomes difficult, and the health issues and other types of limitations we face. Well, in this case, Jarvis basically recognized that when he heard a senior citizen would be moving into a new apartment, he kind of went above and beyond the call of duty. He knew that that senior citizen had struggled with several health issues and vision problems and other limitations, and he took it upon himself to help this woman gather her belongings and her property and to move them from her old apartment into a new apartment she was moving at. He helped her clean up the trash from her old apartment and handle all of the sentimental things that were involved and other personal tasks that was requested of him. And you can imagine that when you're dealing with a senior in a move, it's probably a touchy, emotional, personal situation. And Jarvis handled this wonderfully. The lady actually appeared to be living in a rather disturbing condition at the current apartment, and this particular move became apparent that it was putting her in a much healthier, better, safer environment where she was moving to, the new surroundings and the new habitat. It's important to be able to live in a healthy environment, and Jarvis made that possible. He sacrificed his personal time to do this on behalf of the city of Albuquerque. And so with that, I'd like to call up Georgia to talk any more about this particular incident.
You know, as director of the Department of Senior Affairs, it makes me really proud that we have the opportunity to honor our wonderful employees. And Mr. Jarvis Sanchez, a home delivered meals driver, he delivers meals on a daily basis. He delivers about 50, 60 meals a day, but he gets to know the people that he visits regularly. He knows their routines. He knows when things are not quite right. And so he knew this person and knew that their need for moving was very important. Like you say, it was a very disturbing place where she lived. He made a choice that day. He made a choice to use his personal time on his day off to go to her home, help her pack up her items. Like you say, it was very personal when you're a senior to be having to move from one place to another. He chose that day to go above and beyond. He chose to show his character. I hear often of good stories that Jarvis has done with the department, and I am proud today to honor you, Jarvis, for your good work. Thank you so much.
And Jarvis, we just have a small token of our appreciation and recognition for being Employee of the Week. We have a letter basically from the mayor that goes into your personnel file recognizing your service to the city. We have an Employee of the Week plaque, and we also have an Employee of the Week mug. And I just got to tell you on a personal basis, man, it's so good to hear that we have young men like you out there that do things like that. It gives the city a good name, but it also gives humanity a good name. That's some great work. You bet.
Thank you.
Thanks.